Guy finds hidden door and loses it at what's inside. But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to Happy World, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories. Hidden below his backyard, a man stumbled upon a hidden door, but he completely flipped out when he saw what was inside. X marks the spot. As kids, most of us dreamed about finding buried treasure in the backyard. One man was lucky enough to live out this fantasy in his adult life. He happened to stumble upon mysterious blueprints for his home. However, when he actually went looking for the hidden room, he couldn't believe what he'd found. Buried beneath his backyard lay an ominous-looking trapdoor. But even more ominous was what lay within. Arizona man strikes metaphoric gold. One man really struck it lucky. John Sims found something epic hidden in his garden. John didn't consider himself much of an adventurer. He was just your everyday kind of guy. The homeowner had lived in his home in Tucson for a few years already, happily making the space his own. He never expected there was more than meets the eye to his property, until he found something in storage. A treasure map is uncovered. One day, John was rummaging through storage and came across an interesting document. The original plans for his home. Intrigued, he pulled it out. But upon closer inspection, he saw something that he hadn't yet seen with the naked eye. Something mysterious which should have been in plain sight in his yard. Baffled, John wandered out in a daze to try and find the extra add-on. As before, he could see nothing but grass, until he dug a little deeper. The missing house plan component. Determined to get to the bottom of things, literally and figuratively, John investigated further. He had no idea how he could have missed something in his own backyard for all these years. Was the structure demolished? And if so, why? But determined as ever, John went to the one place that could offer substantial answers. He went to the local council and searched for any documents pertaining to his homestead. And what he found was incredible. John finds what he's looking for. In the archives of the council, John came across something remarkable. He found exactly what he was looking for. On the piece of paper was a rough, hand-sketched figure, but John couldn't quite make out what it was. However, he did notice one key component: metal. John knew what he had to do next. And so with that, he put on his adventure hat and went off to find his buried treasure. When he saw the metal component, John knew what he had to do. And so he called in the big guns. A professional metal detector expert was called in. With that, John set about the yard with the assistance of the specialist. It didn't take long for them to find what they'd been looking for. The metal detector began to scream wildly, and John's heart began to race. But when he began to dig, he wasn't prepared for what he found. Unexpected things are unearthed. As soon as the metal detector rang out, John knew that he'd found what they were looking for, and so he began an extensive excavation. They dug and dug until a metallic clang rang out. John's heart began to pound. They'd struck gold. As he began to clear away the remaining dirt, he had no idea what to expect, but what he found surpassed every expectation. The excavation goes ahead. As the rubble began to clear, John looked on at what they'd uncovered. Right there in his backyard, all this time lay a trap door, but nobody knew it was inside. The excitement was rife within the yard. The tension was so thick one could cut it with a knife. This was a massive find for John, and he had no idea what to expect. But that excitement quickly turned to fear as John began to dig further. John's imagination begins to run rampant. As they began to dig around the door, John's mind went haywire. He had no idea what to expect beneath the trapdoor. The first question raised was, why had it been buried? Surely there was no need to cover it if it were innocent. With that, John began to consider the possibilities of what lay beneath. And then, as though to confirm his fears, something else was discovered in the dirt. The trap door has been deliberately sealed. When the dust settled, the door was ready to be opened. But this is when John's fears spiked. As they attempted to open the metal trap, it appeared to be shut, deliberately so. Why on earth would anyone deliberately seal a door and then bury it in the yard? What lay behind this door that was so desperately trying to be hidden from the world? When they finally managed to crank the door open, John saw why it had been sealed shut. More than meets the eye. Beneath the trap door lay something incredible. As John looked down, he saw a spiraling staircase disappearing into the darkness. His heart raced as they cleared the stairs and began the descent. Lying at the bottom of the stairs, he saw something truly incredible. He walked into a large built-up room. This left John reeling in amazement. A whole new space to his home had been uncovered. But what was it for? John digs deeper to learn about underground room. When John begins to do a bit of sleuthing, he discovers the room was actually built to serve as a bunker. It was constructed by a company called Whitaker Pools during 1961. The room below was a dome-shaped single space made from concrete and fiberglass. It served as a bomb shelter between 1960 and 1980. This was during the time of the Cold War, and when he released the images on social media, people flipped. A treasure frenzy begins. Thanks to John's stroke of luck, a treasure frenzy began in Tucson. When his images were shared, they quickly went viral. It took no time for treasure fever to catch. People began to rummage for original house plans in order to see if they would be so lucky. Who knew what your backyard could be hiding? However, it would seem as though John was the sole successor of an abandoned bunker. But he has great plans for the space. The renovation of the bunker. John plans to make the most of his newfound space. He wishes to restore the bunker to its former glory. Since finding it, John began a GoFundMe campaign. He intends to raise money to restore the bunker. He wishes to redo it exactly how it would have appeared in the 60s. But why would people help someone redo their own space? There's definitely more on the cards for this former bunker. The Bunker Museum. When renovations are completed, John actually plans to turn the bunker into a museum. He wishes to commemorate the Cold War. He's already begun collecting period pieces from that time to display in the bunker. This space will now be a tribute to that time, and members of the public will be allowed to visit the Remembrance Museum. From a buried relic to a revived tribute, this bunker has really come a long way.